Look, first off, we tip our hats to Buffalo. I mean, so many momentum swings in that game. It'd be hard to remember them. When the playoffs part of this began for us, we obviously had a bye. We had gone through the history of teams that had won the Super Bowl. We all talked about it, and in the last 25 years, 24 of those teams have been plus in the turnover takeaway battle. And we were 5-1 today, and we weren't good enough in the red zone. That concerned me, but we were good enough when it counted. And man, there's like a million things that you guys can ask or I can talk about. Our fans were great. Thankful for the way the players, it's kind of been the story of the season, and this is a good second half team. But the one thing we talked about, I gave you guys the myths of the one seed on a bye that doesn't promise a fast start. The team you're playing just came off one of their best wins of the year, but we earned a fast start. That was important. We felt like when you get into the second half, that's where that bye week gives you an edge. And so it went back and forth, overtime. It's like, it's interesting. We had a clinic on overtime in the postseason compared to the regular season. In Washington, we had the captain for the Commanders say we're going to kick off that way, and it's like, well, you can't do that. Carolina kicked off from the 40 the other day in the playoffs. No one caught it from 40-yard line, playoff game. So I think I spent 10 minutes talking to Will, make sure you understood. We wanted to kick, and then if they choose that, we want to return the ball, and you get to pick the direction, and then covered everything with the team relative to timeouts, quarters, halftime, and I'll be darned, here we are sitting playing in an overtime game. Again, I'm happy for the fans. They were magnificent. It's a real good team that, we obviously weren't ready last year, but we were ready today. Any questions?
Sean, two-parter, your angle on the interception that J-Mac made.
The last one?
Yeah.
It's perfect. Two things happened. There's actually a hold in the end zone. That would have been the first time the game would have ended with a safety when DJ just gets completely. But the throw's made, the catch is being made, but the catch isn't secured. And so in these playoff games, you have officials. If the catch was secured, it wouldn't have been an interception. So as it's not secured and we get it, it's our ball. It was an amazing play by J-Mac.
He was an undrafted guy. He was not playing a lot when you first got here. What have you just made of the?
Well, 23.
Put him in the lineup.
23. We were trying to figure it out, and yeah, there are a lot of guys that aren't here that were here in 23, but he's earned every. I said you'll go 5-10 years before you see a turnover like that one. That ended up being a game changer. That was a tremendous play.
Coach, to your left, Bo, his play down the stretch, particularly at the end of regulation to go up. Just what do you think of your quarterback?
Man, those were big drives, not always easy. Once we hit midfield with the penalty, now we know we're getting 0 on every play. I wasn't comfortable with where we were kicking that field goal from at all. And so we usually keep a list of 6-8 passes that are 0 beaters, max protection, stutter, spears, and he puts it up there for Mims. Yeah, he was fantastic when we needed him, and he made some plays with his feet. Both teams were nicked up. They were nicked up coming in. We got nicked up quick. Pat's out, and then pretty soon Troy Franklin's out, and then you're down to 3 receivers. We took Mims off kick return after that happened. Then these are the 3 if you're going to be in, 11 personnel. We got into some base. We had a lot more tempo in this plan, especially in the early part of the game. Out of different groupings, we had a few NASCAR packages. I thought we ran it well in the first half, and then we ran into a lot more run pressures in the second half.
Sean, you self-evaluated as a play caller this week. Quick, decisive. Did you feel like you were driving in the rain, so to speak, tonight, or?
No, I felt clear.
Yeah.
I felt clear. Red zone pissed me off a little bit, but no, I felt crystal clear.
What got you thinking about that?
Just
this
talking
week?
about it and getting a good night's rest 2 nights in a row. And then I think one of the things we tried to do is reduce the plan so that we had more reps at it. I thought when you lose 2 receivers, understand the work week, like Troy might have gotten all these third down throws that immediately become Mims, or Pat is getting all these plays, and now LJ, gets in there, and then he comes up with a huge play for us. I mean, yeah, that was something. That was a big score. And then when you think about that, then the fumble, like there's a fast 10, before you get out of your seat at halftime. That probably was the difference in the game, really. That happened quick.
Coach, to your left, along with that, part of those 10 points, you had 4 straight scoring drives to end the half, and then the field goal
That was
after
our
the
big
half.
thing. It was, look, you guys know it. We haven't, we changed all week. Every period was fast start, team run, fast start, and we got off the field, tried to simulate more of a game. Because one of the true challenges when you're coming off a bye, if you're not careful, that other team has a little bit more right at the start. And so we talked about that, and we achieved that.
Coach over here, was there any difference in how you were calling plays in overtime? And maybe you can comment about how Alex Singleton's initial that turnover seemed to be another change.
There were so many plays. I just handed out 5 balls. Benito caused 2 fumbles. Alex caused 1. PJ Locke's got a pick. His pick was big. And any and all of them are, I think, I would say, historically speaking, for me, when you're calling plays, you have to pay attention to who's on offense, who's the quarterback, and then your tolerance for being aggressive moves in a certain direction. And so, man, they're an offense that got a phenomenal running back. That quarterback is something, and so we were going to be, we were going to be more aggressive.
Sean, can you talk about the Frank Crum touchdown? How long have you been working on it, and how important was it?
Good question. So Johnny Moe, who's just working with us, consulting from Detroit. Detroit ran that play against Buffalo in the regular season last year. And I'm going to be respectful of all the linemen in the world that get to catch a pass. But Frank is extremely athletic. And the tackle, the jumbo for Detroit, would be on the other end. It has nothing to do with his ability, but on the other end of that spectrum. And so when we saw that, we saw it as a short yardage play, but we saw it as a short yardage red zone play. And they have a tendency to play more man when you're in jumbo. And so the little short motion bumps who's covering who. And that's one of those Rudy plays. Your whole team goes crazy when that happens, And so he's very athletic, and we got, like, sometimes you don't get the look you want. We got the exact same look Detroit got. Ours scored just like 3 seconds quicker. Their guy took a while to get in.
Hey, Sean, over here.
Yeah.
what's the emotion like for you, especially given this team and how you've had, so many games come down to the wire? What did it feel like in overtime, the fourth quarter today?
Man, tell me at what point and who had the ball. We're punting. Look, probably his best punt of the year. I don't know what the net was. You guys do. 55, no return. And so now it's, we've got to be aggressive because field goal beats us, and we kind of know right where that line is. We zeroed them up twice, and once they got outside of us on third down, the runner did, on a little screen, and then that last interception was a cover zero. We can't sit back and allow him to move around like we're going to force his hand. And again, that was a phenomenal play by J-Mac, but it should have ended really with the safety, which would have been the first in the history of football. A great play.
Sean, straight back. Can you elaborate more on just the defense's effort and the emphasis on takeaways, especially heading into the playoffs, and then to get that stop on, I guess, their next to last drive that allowed you to set up the go-ahead touchdown
That was big.
to get a field goal?
No, that I would say they score there, and it becomes very difficult. So they look all season long. It's been like these guys in there love each other. It's one of the closer teams I've ever been around. Very unselfish, and they play for each other. And back to the earlier question, your emotions just move, but still the whole time you're trying to stay in the moment relative to where are we at when we get this ball back, and then what do we need to do. I would say that the second half was entirely different than the first half relative to what we saw. We saw a lot more fire zone. You could count the pressures 5-1 compared to the first half. And so then it was quickly, all right, what are we adjusting to? The last pass interference was a, max protect, was meant for something like that. So you save some of those calls if you think, because they're really a zone team, but in those gotta-have-it moments, all of us, in the gotta-have-it moments, you have to be ready, and so, yeah, I think defensively, that was a big stop. There's so many, they took the ball away 5 times. That was the strip sack at the end of the half for the little field goal that's Lanyap, and that was something.